And Johnny on the line, it's great to be welcoming back to Flow to have a good chat, but this time it's not about the Academy or anything going on, it's about the Bushwackers, and we've got Dobe Newton. G'day, Dobe, how are you today?
Hello, mate, and hello, everybody. Well, it's a good thing it's not about the Academy because, boy, was that a challenge.
Well, in these current times, yeah.
We just did the junior one in Tamworth.
Yeah, I spoke to Lynn Battelle about that recently, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did an amazing job, but, oh, my God, what a challenge it was. Anyway, look, It's about me now, isn't it?
It's all about you. Eyes back to Dobe, yes, because the Bushwackers, you've got a new song out. Before we talk about that, it's called Diggin For Gold, and we'll get to hear that soon as well. But it's the 50th anniversary. I couldn't believe you've been going that long. I would have, if someone said 40, I would have gone, oh, yeah, that's about right. But 50 years, 50.
No, I'm afraid it's 50. And I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think we're the only Australian band that's ever performed continually for 50 years. There are some who started a bit earlier, like, the Seekers, but they haven't continually performed. They've stopped and started a few times. So we're pretty proud of that, really.
So what first got you into the Bushwackers? How did you manage to get into the vortex and stay there for so long?
I was at school and uni. I was a pretty average drummer, but and that was in Sydney, and I fell in love with a young woman from Perth, and so I decided to follow her over there, and of course I couldn't take the drums. And when I got there, I met a bunch of Irish folkies who asked me to join the band, and I said, oh, well, I can't play guitar or banjo or anything, so they handed me a tin whistle, and they said, and here, have this, and it was a lagerphone. And I thought, oh, yeah, well, I've played the drums, I can probably make a go of this. And then that band came over to Sydney to go on one of those cruises, In those days, you didn't get paid, you just got a free trip. So we spent all our money, and when we got back to Sydney and Melbourne, we had to have a benefit concert to raise enough money for petrol back to Perth. And one of the bands who came along and played at this fundraiser was a band that had just formed in Melbourne called the Bushwackers, who were really good. And I got back to Perth, and a couple of weeks later I got a message to give them a ring, so I gave them a ring, and their lagerphone player was leaving, and they asked me to join. So that was, so the band started in 71, late 71, and I joined in 73. So I'm only, I'm a bit of a new chum, really.
Yeah, really. You're the new guy.
Yeah, I know. And then Rog came along in 1980, and we've been together ever since then, and people have come and gone, and it's all been wonderful.
It is an amazing journey, 50 years. And so what is it about that Celtic music that has sort of influenced the Bushwackers and other bands? When I hear you and that, it straight away, something sort of tingles inside. I don't know whether it's a DNA thing through heritage back to the UK and Scotland and Ireland and that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it is. What do you think it is?
Well, that's all part of it, but it's also the heartbeat of the music. I mean, basically it's dance music. Now some of them are slow dancers and a lot of them are much quicker dancers, but that's what it is. I mean, it's almost impossible not to start, tapping your foot and moving to the music. So, combination of all those things. But there are so many of us in Australia who, can trace a relation back to, the UK and particularly Scotland and Ireland. And so, it's in the DNA there somewhere, mate.
Yeah, every time I hear it, I can just, you feel it. It's the only way I can describe it. It's like this little feeling inside. So there is that instant connection. It's part of our history.
The connection, that's exactly the right word.
What's this Golden Jubilee exhibition that you've got a grant for? What's all that about?
Oh, well, I know. Well, last year we were sitting around and saying, okay, so 2021's our 50th anniversary. Let's make it really special. Let's put together, some classic bits of memorabilia. And then let's tour Australia. And then let's go back to Scotland and Ireland, where we spent probably a total of 5 years over our career.
Yep.
Let's do all that. Let's reconnect with all those audiences. And then, of course, you know what happened.
The big C happened, yeah.
The big C happened. So we thought, oh, God, what are we going to do now? So then we came up with the idea of creating a really huge online exhibition. The best part about that, of course, is that we're going to make it interactive. So we want people to, send us copies of their posters and pictures and flyers and videos that they've taken at gigs over the years. We want them to share their memories about, going to a Bushies gig. And, of course, we've got boxes and boxes of stuff that we've accumulated over the years. So basically, I started doing all this archiving and, scanning photos and all sorts of things. And I wrote a couple of grant applications to see if we could get some money to support us in doing that.
Yep.
And quite frankly, just to try and make some sort of income during the dreadful months. And I think I got knocked back 3 times, and I was starting to get a bit downhearted about the whole thing, and I thought, this is no good. And then I put in a final one, but having missed out 3 times, I really wasn't expecting anything. And below me down, if I, instead of getting one of those emails which says, thank you for your application, unfortunately on this occasion you've not been successful, this time when I opened the email it said, congratulations. And
Excellent.
I went, oh my God, they've given us some money. So that means we'll be able to design the website properly, and it also means that we've got a whole bunch of tapes, ancient tapes that hardly anybody's got a machine anymore that can play them, for heaven's sake. And nobody's ever heard these tapes. So there are about, there must be 20 hours or something. And some of them are live concerts from the 70s, and there's some stuff we did in a studio that I can't even remember. But anyway, we found a man down here, a very clever man, who's got a bunch of old machines that he bought from recording studios when they went out of business. And so at the very moment, he's transferring all those to digital format so that we can share them with everybody. So I'm hanging out to hear them. So that's an expensive business, so part of the grant will pay for that. And, and then part of it will be a marketing campaign so that we reach out to, people all around Australia and all around the world and say, please share your stuff with us so that we can then add it to our exhibition and everybody can follow our journey.
Wow. So when's it all likely to happen, Doug?
Okay, so according to the grant, it's going to be launched. We're partnering with the Tamworth Regional Council because we've had such a long relationship with them since 1981. We've been playing there every year. And, of course, next year is their 50th. And so that's all going to happen. The launch of the exhibition website will be at the end of November. So all quite exciting. But, look, we'll be in touch with you and everybody else because, community and public radio have been such an important part of our career, and so we'll be asking you to let all your listeners know how they can donate or share their memorabilia with us.
I'm sure there's some Flow listeners that have got something in the back cupboard that's they'll be. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm really excited because I think we're going to find over those 50 years, there's just stuff that you simply don't remember.
Yeah.
You know, and when I talk to other members, old members of the band, and say, "Oh, what about that time?" and they go, "Oh, that's right, I'd forgotten about that," and then they say something, and I go, "Oh, yeah, that's right." So, look, I think we're going to find a bunch of amazing stuff out there. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Just going back to the Bushwackers in your 50 years, what was your most favourite gig in that 50 years? There's got to be 1, 2 or 3 that are right up there, but what's one that just sticks in your mind every day?
Gee whiz!
I know. Sorry to ask you, but I want to know.
No. There is one. There was when we first went to England, which was 1974. We had no idea what to expect. We thought, well, are people going to think that we're just bringing some sort of, second-rate version of their original music back to them?
Yeah.
But when we got to Ireland, they absolutely loved the band. And I think it was because we were so energetic. I mean, we'd been playing in the pubs and stuff here. And, I mean, if you're going to cut it in a pub where, the crowd aren't sitting down, waiting on your every note, they're drinking and yelling and dancing and, if you're going to cut it in that atmosphere, you've got to be a pretty, enthusiastic, loud and raucous sort of affair, which we were.
Yep.
So when we got to Ireland, they were used to seeing much more polite folk bands than us. And as I said, they really loved it. And we did this amazing gig, the most famous folk band in the world, probably in those days, was an Irish band called the Dubliners.
Oh, yes, yep.
Who were famous, internationally famous. And we got a gig supporting them at their favourite venue in Dublin. And we were extremely nervous. This was like, I don't know, some band who's just starting out, getting a support band for somebody incredibly famous, you know.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, God, I wonder how we're going to go. Anyway, they had really never seen a lagerphone before. And when I started playing the lagerphone, there were people in the audience who actually screamed.
Oh.
And I know. And I thought, I'm not sure what's going on here. So then we did a couple more songs. Then I played the lagerphone again, and they screamed again. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. And so that drove me to ridiculous heights of enthusiasm, and I'm sure I overdid things dramatically. But to this day, that's the only time that the lagerphone has ever evoked screaming from fans.
Wow.
It was a pretty special moment, I've got to tell you.
Was there any differences between the audiences in the UK and here in Australia? Did you find anything, or were they all the same?
Oh, English audiences were much more reserved.
Okay.
Much more reserved. But then, you see, we played in England anyway, we played mainly in folk clubs where, they are more reserved. They're, they sit down and they listen and they applaud politely, whereas in Scotland and Ireland and Germany and Holland and France, we played in a whole range of places. A few folk clubs, but also in Germany especially, they had these student clubs where they were used to having blues bands and folk bands and all sorts of different acts, and they were much more involved as an audience. So, you know, they'd jump up and down and yell out, and they didn't sing along because, of course, they didn't know the songs. But they danced, and so the only, and they resembled Australian audiences in their enthusiasm. So it was only England, really, but as I said, that was the folk club, so that was a bit different.
Just the 50 years of memories that you've got. I can't wait to see the website when it comes out. And it's going to be fun to see. Now, I need to talk to you about the song, The Bushwackers. We've got to get back on track to that. You've got a new single out called Diggin For Gold, and also you were inducted into the Roll of Renown this year as well.
Know.
So was that a bit of a misty-eyed experience for you?
Oh, yeah, and a complete surprise, because even though the festival was cancelled, the awards still went on as a live event. So Roger and I were there. And, you know, as I said to somebody, look, when you're nominated for a golden guitar, even if you don't think you're going to win, you think, I better have a few notes made just in case.
Yeah.
And we hadn't entered anything into the awards, so of course we thought, this will just be a night of us sitting back and having a glass and, you know, congratulating our mates and all that sort of stuff. And then blow me down halfway through if they didn't get up and announce that we were this year's the inductees. And it was a complete and utter surprise.
Wow.
A wonderful one. And, you know, we staggered up to the stage, and I, you know, managed to say, I can't even remember what I managed to say, but I certainly hadn't prepared anything. But it was a beautiful moment. And after that, we were sitting around, Roger and I, and we were just chatting about, you know, doing some new music. And we came up with this idea about how, when we went to Tamworth for the first time in 1981, we'd been there 2 days when we won our first golden guitar, which was also a complete and utter surprise. And then, of course, about 45 losing nominations after that. It was 29 years until we won another one. So we were just talking about how our Digging for Gold, as in gold guitars, was just like, you know, the old pioneers who went to the gold fields, who were desperately trying to find a bit of gold, and all it took was that tiny little glitter of colour in the gravel, and they'd keep going. And, of course, you know, most of them didn't make enough to live on. Only a few of them succeeded hugely. And we thought, let's write a song which is about our journey looking for gold and set it to the story of the old gold diggers doing exactly the same thing. So that's what Diggin' for Gold's all about.
It is a fun foot-tapping song, and listening to your music, that's exactly what it does. It gets you moving and gets you grooving, and it's in the DNA, and I know people listening to it are going to have a little smile on their face, and they're going to want to know when to see you around the country and when they can go to your shows, when we're allowed to, I guess. But yeah, and
I'd like to know too.
I can totally understand that. Well, Dave, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for spending this time talking to us. I really appreciate it.
No, not at all, and I'll let you know about the exhibition so you can tell everybody.
Absolutely, we'll love to pass that on. I've got the single here ready to go for all the Flow listeners. Could you please introduce it for us? And thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Hi, folks. This is Dobe Newton from the Bushwackers on Flow FM, and here's our latest single, Diggin' for Gold.
Well, we came out here in 81, seeking the light under the blazing sun, Digging in the river to make it pay. Found a nugget on the second day. Built a little place, we were there to stay. And we worked in the gravel till our fingers bled. Digging for gold, digging for gold. Tea and damper and a stringy bark bed. Digging for gold, digging for gold. There's treasure in the river, we just knew. We stayed the course and saw it through. The winter cold turned our fingers blue. Digging for gold. Well, the river runs fast, the river runs wild. Thousands came to make their pile, but only a few went the extra mile. And the river runs deep, the river runs cold. We once were young, but now we're old. They'll carve our name on a rock untold. Digging for gold. Now the diggers came, the diggers went. Digging for gold, digging for gold. A community grew on that river bend. Digging for gold, digging for gold. Empires built, children came. We worked hard, we staked our claim. Down through the years we've made our name. Digging for gold. Now the river runs fast, the river runs wild. Thousands came to make their pile, but only a few went the extra mile. And the river runs deep, the river runs cold. We once were young, but now we're old. They'll carve our name on a rock untold. Digging for gold. There's treasure there, but it's buried deep. And the golden dream still haunts my sleep. So set the alluvial till you die. Fire in the belly from deep inside. Nothing's gained if nothing's tried when you're digging for gold. Now the river runs fast, the river runs wild. Thousands come to make their pile, but only a few go the extra mile. And the river runs deep, the river runs cold. We once were young, but now we're old. They'll carve our name on a rock untold, like the old pioneers who went digging for gold. Digging for gold, digging for gold. Digging for gold. Digging for gold.